with a repeat guest, a fellow PhD in English from Rutgers University, Dr. Manuel Betancourt. So, when I last had him on, we talked about his book, The Male Gazed, which was just such a summery, delightful episode. I was finishing my dissertation. I was like using his work in my dissertation. So, I feel like I can breathe after my PhD. He now has a new book called Hello Stranger Musings on Modern Intimacies. If you don't know Manuel, you should. He's a Los Angeles based queer Colombian writer and film critic. He's always on Larry Mantle's Film Week. He writes for Variety, Vulture, the AV Club, the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, Esquire, the Atlantic, you know, the Los Angeles Review of Books. And I'm just so happy for him to be back on so we can talk all things queer culture, maybe some politics. We'll see. The news is a little tiring right now, so I don't know if we need to dig into that. And we're going to look a little at Queer as Folk, episodes 14 and 15. So, welcome back, Manuel.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so I have to just, catch up with you and know, did you know, I know you had told me a little that you were working on Hello Stranger, but how did this project come about after The Male Gazed?
Yeah, so right before, not right before, but like as we were making plans for the male gaze to be published, and that was like summer 23, I knew that I wanted to have another project sort of in the pipeline. Like I wanted to make sure that like whatever happened with the male gaze, whether it was well received, bad received, sales, or like if no one read it, that I would have something else to sort of keep me focused. And so I actually sold Hello Stranger before Male Gazed even came out. And I was writing it. And so when I was doing a lot of press, it was just, I was half doing press and half trying to finish it. And the idea was like, I always wanted to write about this film that I'm obsessed with called Closer. And the original pitch for the book was I just wanted to write an entire book about that film and intimacies and Julia Roberts and Natalie Portman and sort of the ways that film sort of depicts relationships and sort of the limits of relationships. And it soon became clear that that's not a feasible project, that not enough people have seen the film, that it's not quite. And my editor was actually like, I think you have like bigger ambitions and sort of there's a broader project to be mined here. And so we retooled it and I sort of went back to the drawing board, and Closer is still sort of the inspiration behind it, but then it became a book about intimacy and about strangers and about sort of the ways in which we can start rethinking about how we think about our own types of relationships, and the kinds of connections that we make with others, whether they're fleeting or casual or whether they're more long term. So that was a little bit the genesis of it all.
Well, and you also have listening to you on That's a Gay Ass podcast. You also have become a quite a salacious conversationalist about your personal life, Manuel. It not the same Manuel that I remember when I interviewed you with the male gazed.
I think I'm still quite reticent. I think it was one of those like, well, if I was gonna go on That's a Gay Ass podcast, it would have like I knew that I would have to be more forthcoming. But I still, even when I was writing Hello Stranger, which does deal with a little bit more salacious content, there's a chapter on cruising, there's a chapter on sexting. Um, it was also like as soon as I realized that I was not realized, as soon as I decided that I was going to write this book, I knew that it would require a kind of forthrightness
Hmm.
on my own behalf for the book to land, for the ideas to feel fleshed out, in ways both literal and figurative. And so, but I'm still, yeah, I was having this conversation a few weeks ago at another book event because they were like, you reveal so much of yourself, and I'm like, actually, I don't. Like, it's doled out. There's specific moments, but I think if you add them up, I don't feel like I've. Maybe it's because I feel like I kept so much to myself. That there's still not a lot that made it into the book, that I feel it was very the kind of reticence
Hmm.
on my behalf.
Do you feel that you've uh, flew or thrown away that academic regalia, or is that PhD mindedness? I mean, it still seeps through with your cultural like even etymology of what the word stranger. Like you give us this really nice deep dive of like thinking about the syntax of stranger and our proximity to that idea.
Yeah, I think what I realized is that I can bring the kind of rigor that academia taught me and that I really enjoy, those kinds of close readings that I love doing. Um, but because I'm not sort of in academia, I'm not worried about tenure, there's a kind of openness that I can do about what I'm writing about, how I'm writing about it, and what places I'm writing and talking about it. Um, but it's been a long time coming. I think that was one of the reasons why I like sort of moved away from academia is that I wanted to have these more forthright, more forthcoming conversations about popular culture and sort of feeling emboldened and not restricted or self-censoring, which the kind of like respectability and professionalization that sort of the departments and deans and sort of kinds of rules and regulations surrounding the university, I always felt that they were a little constricting to the
Mhm.
kind of work that I was doing. But again, I did an entire undergraduate thesis about cruising. And so I've already, or even within my academic world, I was already sort of not half outside it, but it was already like pushing the limits of what kinds of things I wanted to write about and think about.
Well, and now you have three books, and Hello Stranger is available also at any, well, in the New York City area, because now I live like 6 miles from Manhattan, um, and have moved away from Long Island. I am now getting married and with my undergrad sweetheart. So yeah, things have a move happened. Some things happened in 2 years, but your book is in libraries here in
Hmm.
North Jersey. It's the audiobook is incredible, read by you, which I was so
Yeah.
excited when I heard your voice. And a lot of academics don't have that visibility with their published work. So I mean that is your public presence is very different than traditional academia.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that I do enjoy the most is hearing um, that people are reading it and they're enjoying it and they're like, I feel like I learn a lot. Some people were like, this book feels like it comes with homework because there's like so many things that I write about and talk about in movies and books and portraits. So I'm happy to have been able to, with these two books especially, create a kind of accessible version of academia. So like everything that I wanted to do, but my friends can read it and they've said they've enjoyed it. I'm taking their word for it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been fun.
So, you talk a lot about, I love that you go into Stephen Sondheim's company. You go always like you bring that, what we would call, I guess, auto theory when you imbue like the high and low culture together and you create a type of memoir sense of your voice. But right, like I love that you bring in pop culture. I think that it makes a lot of sense. It helps you probably talk through your ideas about cruising or the bathhouses or right chance encounters, Craigslist. I just remember when Craigslist had those like
Yeah,
no strings.
misconnections or
Yeah.
like yeah, you
So
were M for M, yeah.
yes, yes, I remember. Um, I was in that like right when Grinder was starting, but Craigslist had still, you know, there were some still ads that were floating around.
Yeah,
Do you
personals we call them, yeah.
the personals? Thank you. So, do you feel that the pop culture, like, what does that allow you to get to that, like, you just fixating on, say, a theoretical idea just wouldn't have the same effect?
Yeah, I mean, to me, this has always been biographical because like pop culture and movies and TV shows and even the books that I've read, those were the ways and the moments and the scenes and the objects that allowed me to think through my own ideas, to think through my own identity, to think through self-fashioning.